If you're joining us today, welcome everyone, especially if this is your first time to Changing the Game. This is season 8 that we've been doing this. So a lot of previous content from other advisors. So if you haven't been on here before, you missed some of the 2 other segments that we had this season, you can check out our YouTube channel, Playmaker Coach, and check out all those videos that we've had with other advisors. But certainly excited to have Misty with us today to talk about her journey with marketing. She'll say she's not a huge fan of marketing, but we'll talk a little bit more about then what that has meant for her and what value it's providing. Be sure to come back this fall, and we'll have season 9 of our webinar series as well. So keep that on the radar for more content coming this fall. So I'm Jennifer Hensley with Playmaker Coaching and Consulting. I think most of you know me, but if you don't, I was with Northwestern Mutual for almost 20 years and been working independently with advisors across the country for the last 5, helping them to stay on offense and score more ideal clients. So this season, we're talking all about how can you amplify your reach through your brand messaging, creative collateral, and just brand mastery. So we're going to get into our conversation. We're going to have a little bit of a dialogue, and then we'll open it up to questions. So if you have some questions, be thinking about those. Feel free to add those to the chat, or we'll just open it up and you can unmute yourself and ask your questions at that time. So welcome, Misty. Great to have you here today. And I see you have Allison from your team with us as well, which is fantastic to have you both with us. But why don't you start us off with just a brief introduction about, a little bit of background about the size of your practice. I know we've shared with people that you're a wealth management advisor. Share a little bit more about context as we go into our conversation today.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm Misty Petak. And I'm a WMA. I've been with Northwestern Mutual since 2006. And then after 8 years of being the CRC director, being the technology director, working closely with the managing partner and managing directors of the Pruitt Financial Group in Nashville, Tennessee, I finally, after my dad had a massive stroke in 2013, realized that all of the fears of not doing this were not good enough. When I'm watching my dad had to learn how to walk, talk, and use his arm again, it's a little weak to think not knowing enough people is your excuse. So I started my practice in 2014. So October of this year will be my 10th year in the business. A little context to help with that too is that I was Series 7 back probably I think 2009. Life and health licensed, was knowing how to deal with 30 and 40-year policies, was dealing with compliance related to advisory accounts and CRC. So I had been teaching people how to run PPAs. So I had a lot of familiarity coming in, and I've always been a numbers girl. So when I started my practice, started comprehensively. I wasn't just writing insurance business from the start. I was bringing over assets and insurance at the same time. So fast forward 10 years, 3 years ago, I started incorporating fee for planning. And that has been great for me. And I think that plays into the marketing side as well here. I have about 36 million of assets under management, and bring over now about 8 to 10 million a year. So hopefully with adding some more unnatural aspects of things through marketing and otherwise, maybe I might be bringing over more, but now it's an infrastructure issue. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm very comprehensive in what I do and helping clients. And I am not, I didn't come into this because I love sales. I came into this because I love numbers and I love helping people, and I having an impact on people's lives and teaching and being analytical. Those are where that's my love. So that's actually why marketing is something I wouldn't say I hate. I love watching everyone else's marketing. I love that. I personally, however, hate doing marketing.
Thank you for clarifying.
My marketing is telling people that I am a financial planner and then asking them about their lives. That's my marketing, and that's how I've actually built my business.
So tell us a little bit more about kind of your journey with this, because like you said, it's like you don't necessarily want to spend your time doing it, but so where do you see that kind of fitting in and helping you as you think about where you want to continue to grow your business?
Yes. So one of the things that in this business, and thank goodness for Northwestern Mutual and training education, is that you learn early on that there's systems in place. There's things that that you do from a numbers perspective to bring on clients. Like, you don't have to be good at marketing. You just need to be able to do the financial planning and also be good with people. And you've got really powerful resources from Northwestern to be able to back you in the other areas. But for me, the knowing, 10 years in, I am 43, and I'm looking at succession planning and looking at what my next journey is over the next 10 years, what my next 12, 15 years is like. And so there's also the aspect of just attracting the right clients, when you have the clients that you have, knowing that you can only serve so many people well, and but also being sure to market to the right people. So one thing that's really important for me is that I love taking care of people. And so whether that means the least of these, or if that means the people who bring in a lot of revenue. And so because of that, and also I think many of my clients would say one of the reasons why they introduce me is because they can come in with no shame. They can come in with kind of just being able to share their fears about money and what's happening. Because of that's a soft tone, if you will. It doesn't necessarily speak to competence as much. I think my clients would definitely speak to that. But that's the appeal at first, I think, with some folks, if they don't know me, and if they're not being introduced to me from clients. I love the aspect of making sure my marketing is attracting the kind of clientele I want to bring on. And Northwestern does a good job, but I really think it needs a personal touch. My practice is very personal, and being able to add competence, being able to add expertise, being able to add content that where I can keep the conversation in my meetings with clients on that personal touch level, without having to spend all this time promoting who I am and how I can help you and how competent I am about business expertise and key person and blah, blah, the stuff that comes later. If I have a capabilities deck, for example, that says all that, then I can let the deck say it, and I can point to it, but also be able to talk about the grandma that died last month, or the family member that the history of money that scares them. Yeah. So it gives me that ability to kind of mix competence, confidence, technical expertise with also that personal touch.
That's great to hear about. You talk about being able to leverage the tools to actually give you more freedom in the process to have the conversations go deeper with people, which I know relationships is so critical to you. So part of that, what we talked about, and you mentioned the capability stack, we've been working on some content for your website, and we'll give everybody a sneak peek because we're still working on this, because for you, I know brand voice and that messaging and that relationship is so important. Tell us a bit more about why you want to go down this road of not just using what's available to you at the home office, but where you feel like these pieces really help you demonstrate the brand that you want to communicate to your clients.
Well, honestly, in a lot of ways, this is more accountability. To me, I recognize that I'm not gonna put time into this unless I have a accountability and something on the calendar that's getting it done, because of my complete lack of, this is not my wheelhouse. I don't like this. I'm not intimidated by many things in life. This to me is like, I would rather sleep or sit in front of the fire. So having accountability, having someone to make sure that I'm making progress, moving forward, being able to have a little bit of some ghost writing associated with things because I'm not a writer. I mean, my master's is in mathematics and computational analysis. I'm not a writer. So, but being able to share my story about my love for taking care of people and getting that to be demonstrated, through the help of somebody else. That's more of what's happening here for me. Outsourcing that and having somebody who is motivated to push me forward, just like I am for my clients. Marketing for me can be as intimidating as financial planning can be for my clients. And so, we know that with financial planning, there's 7 million things that you should do. So we don't do anything. And we are the ones helping clients to do the 1 or 2 things that are going to move them forward. And for me, that's why I hired Jennifer, because I needed someone to help me to do the 1 or 2 things that move things forward, because I, on my own, would not.
Well, I think that's great perspective of how, sometimes we're our own worst coach, right? Like that, the things that we're so good at helping other people at, sometimes that's where we can really benefit from having an expert to help us. So it's been a great pleasure working with you and having Allison in there too, of how do we make sure that, what parts do you really need involved with? What can Allison do? And how can I help your team together? So maybe you could share with us a little bit more about what some of the roadblocks have been through this journey, or some of the shifts maybe you've had to continue to make when you think about, maybe the way you thought about things in the past versus where you want to go now.
Battles. So the challenge and the struggle with this is a mental game. The psychological aspect of not perfectionism. Okay? And also all the different websites of other planners and what they have on there, and trying to be unique compared to that, while also knowing that they have a lot of great content and they're doing similar things that you're doing. So how do you make your voice be heard while also, and not be swallowed up in a crowd and the sea of all the things that's happening with financial planning across different firms, but while also getting across similar content. I mean, we're all doing a lot of the same things, whether we want to compete and say that we aren't. Like, if people are doing financial planning, we're all going to be headed in a similar direction in terms of how we're serving clients, but our personalities and our fit there is what's unique. And so that's the challenge. I'm getting out of my head, I think, and moving, being able to be okay with it not being perfect to start and then modifying it. I would say that's a challenge for me.
I think that's so great that you hit on that, because if any of you were on any of the previous segments, or you go back and listen to them, I think that will be a consistent message that was hit on, of really being about mindset. So while we can go on here today and show you, here's the, the images and what this looks like and the tangible things, and we always want to make sure that you walk away with something tactical that you can do right now, there really is that bigger transformation that's usually part of this process that can continue to give you more confidence and clarity in terms of the value you have, that you're providing for other people, what makes you unique, and how do we position you in the best way to reach the people that you really want to work with. So just showed, some of the examples here too about some of the things that we've been working on together. This is one of the things too with these social media pieces that I love doing for clients, is once you work so hard to put your content out there, often see that then it kind of just stale. And Misty talked about it. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is a living, breathing thing that's going to, the whole 80-20 rule that's going to continue to evolve. So as part of that, we love to take some of that content that you have on your website that you work so hard, or in your capabilities deck, and how do you repurpose that and use that on social media, use that in your communications and your email signatures and other places to get more legs for it. And to be able to just kind of keep reinforcing those messages to the people that you want to work with, of, hey, here's what we want you to think about in terms of us. And we know certainly from Misty, for you, a lot of it's been about the relationships, and it came through loud and clear when we did some testimonials for you, how much of a technical expert, that, like you said, that you love nerding it out on the numbers that you are, but people appreciate that they know that there's no problem too complex that you can't solve. So one of the things I mentioned we wanted to be able to do is to always make sure that while we're talking about the mindset and the shifts that might have to be made, that we do have that tangible, where do you get started? How do you start to, if you're struggling with this, you don't know where to start, or you're like, yeah, I don't really want to spend my time on marketing. What's your try it at work tip that you have for our audience today that they could do something, in the next couple weeks to advance in that space?
Well, first of all, I personally know that hiring somebody, even if it means putting out money you were not expecting to put out there, to just have something on the calendar, have accountability to do it, and have somebody ask you the questions that we spend our time asking our clients, so that you're not alone in it. This business, this industry, we're surrounded by people and entirely alone. So knowing that you have somebody, and one thing I like in particular about, and so my answer is reaching out to somebody like yourself and like having a conversation. You're not committing, you're not obligating yourself, you're just having a conversation. And I think that forces you, in preparation for that meeting and following that meeting, to work through some things in your mind, get the dust out and start looking at what are things that you can do to move forward. So as we know from client builders that you sit in on or whatever it is, like you could have 7 million ideas that come out, but that if you only have, if you have one or two things, that's where you're going to be productive, as you pick one or two things to do. And so the first thing I think would be like just having a conversation with somebody. I particularly have chosen to work with Jen out because of the mix of, she's been with Northwestern, she knows the compliance rules, she knows the system, she knows people, she knows the market, but she also doesn't have this boss of the home office or this other driving behavior that is going to influence how she interacts with me on helping me think about my approach. If you're calling the home office marketing teams, I feel a little bit like maybe out of touch with that. They probably are fantastic. Quite frankly, Northwestern does a really great job of having resources, but I have never had anybody that I've gravitated toward at the home office who I felt like, oh, they're going to get it. They're going to get it and they're going to know. And maybe it's because I haven't spent time doing that, but I love knowing that Jen's not necessarily motivated by some corporate agenda when it comes to what I'm doing. That gives her space to be able to hear and listen to what's happening here, but also having the knowledge that we can't just be rogue. We're not going to be rogue about what's happening. So.
Yeah. Well, and whether I appreciate that, but whether it's me or somebody else, I know there's a lot of great resources out there. I always recommend, kind of like what Misty talked about, is start with what you do have available to you. There's a lot of great resources.
Home office contacts.
Yeah, I would hear so often when I was in the corporate setting too, was though, there's all this stuff, but either I don't know it exists, or does it really make sense for me? Or how do I talk about it with my clients? Where does it fit in with my process? And that's the part that we'd love to be able to talk a little bit more specifically about what are your unique needs and what makes sense for you. Because every advisor's practice, we know, it's not the same. That you all.
And I should have been using the capabilities deck of Northwestern Mutual earlier on, even though it wasn't catered to me necessarily. There's things that I just wasn't utilizing. I'd known they existed, but it's making time for it.
Yeah. When you're a business owner, you get a lot on your plate. So we want to open it up to some questions. We know we got a few of you live. If you're not on here live and you have questions, you can submit those to us at jennifer@playmakercoach.com, and we'll make sure either I'll respond or Misty, I'm sure, would be willing to respond. But since we have Misty and also Allison on our team with us too, which we don't get very often opportunities to ask team members about parts of it, love to be able to open up to questions. So Let me check the chat and see. Why don't we start it off with Misty? You mentioned it's year 10. So congratulations again. I know you guys are thinking about some things special in that space. So part of marketing and branding is also that client experience. Do you want to share a little bit about what you're thinking to make a splash with a 10-year anniversary?
So this is going on YouTube, right?
Oh, we won't give away all the details.
No, but one thing that's incredibly important to me is the authenticity of what we do. I love the fact that in my practice, I feel like it's more altruistic in nature than anything. I've been very grateful to have be able to build a practice that's just based on being able to be valuable to people every day and loving on them. And so I do plan to throw a celebration for the 10-year. And one of the things that I want to do with it, and I'm working through trying to figure out how to best do that, is pouring it back into them. So I'm in Nashville. So of course I have music clients, musicians as clients, I have artists as clients. And so I'm hoping, I already have some folks that I have it on mind to be a part of that celebration and paying them for their services to do that work. But also just being able to pour back into them. And so finding ways to be able to give back, but also celebrate this thing called being a business owner for the last decade that, I don't know that necessarily I expected in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big accomplishment. 10 years, we know, those milestones, and you probably are just working so hard and on to the next thing. And I think it's important to make sure we stop and celebrate that, not just for ourselves, but like you said, of like all those relationships that have got you to this point. Allison, I'd love to hear from you. I think a question about, how do you guys work through this together? Because sometimes that can be challenges for teams, right? Of like, where does marketing fit in? We have all these other responsibilities. What can you add to today's conversation? What should we have asked you that we haven't talked about?
Well, and just to clarify, is this when you ask that question, are you asking specific as a whole in our daily activities or in response to marketing in general?
Wherever what do you think would be most helpful?
Oh gosh. So first of all, I totally was not planning to.
I know I put you on the spot, so
I
thanks for
know.
bearing with us.
No, absolutely. I mean, first of all, Misty and I love working alongside Misty. So as a whole, we have a great relationship, and it's I, we actually work separate of each other as far as cities go. So we work remote, I guess I should say, and um, that is that just works really well for us. We've known each other for 32 years, have been best friends for that long, and so it's a great relationship. And I have really loved coming alongside her as we've really started continuing to build the business, as I've come into her practice for almost 3 years in August, and just becoming a part of that with her. Um, I I love working alongside her because of how she takes care of her clients, and just being a part of that is just a joy. So as we've dove into the marketing side of it, I forgive me, I probably am being redundant and repeating myself. I'm enjoying this process of working alongside with you and seeing what we can put out there to just further service others and bring people along with us.
Great. Yeah, I think it all works together, right? That's what we're trying to do, is to make sure that the experience you're providing, what brand feel and what you want people to think of and everything, that it all works for you as you continue to go forward. So
and I'll add to that with Allison, put her on her toes there a little bit, but I will say one thing, having her known me for a long time, she has been really great about helping with content writing because she has known me for so long, and she sees from the other side. She helps me to get a little bit more out of my head and being able to put put what actually probably sounds a lot like my voice, but she's doing some of the writing because of the fact that she's known me so long, but also can see what it is when she sees case notes and when she sees what I'm doing to help clients and when she interacts with clients, the experience they feel and the experience we want them to feel that's positive, getting somehow to communicate that on a website or in content with folks that have not yet had that experience.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great perspective. We were talking about that before we went live about having those people that really know you. You know, we can write content for you or help with some of that and provide some feedback, but it's always great when you bring other people into that really know you, have experienced you, work with you in different ways that they can help make sure, like, does this really sound like me, or challenge you to sometimes put things out there that you're like, I don't know, should I be that vulnerable or not? So,
yeah, there is some of that too.
Yep. So, Misty, we want to thank you for your time today. Before we wrap things up, we want to be able to support a cause that's near and dear to you. I know you're involved in a lot of things in the community. What's one organization that we can give back to on your behalf?
Oh, how fun. So, well, I lead a giving circle called 100 Women Who Care of Greater Nashville. And we get together once a quarter and we nominate nonprofits, and we end up collecting $100 from everyone and end up giving over $10,000 every quarter to a different nonprofit, which is really cool. Yeah. And we're actually meeting on May 14th, and we'll be selecting the new recipient on May 14th. So if it would be okay to inform you of the recipient on May 14th, maybe we can give to that.
Oh, yeah, that sounds fantastic. I know that's been an organization you've been heavily involved with, and they sound like they're doing a lot of great work. So happy to contribute with them. Remember the resources that we've talked about this week and on some of the other segments, whether you're a newer advisor like Nico, you're that fast track advisor like Noah, or you're taking up to fee-based wealth management like Misty. We encourage you to take that score assessment that we have on our website. We'll make sure to send out the link to that to see where you stand and schedule just a 15-minute conversation. Take action like Misty's Try It at Work tip. If you reach out and have a conversation, we can help kind of give you that clarity on what's that one next step from here in your business as well. So I have one final thought for you today is, go be you. Go be different, and go be great. So look, thank you so much for your time today. We'll be back again this fall, and in the interim, connect with us online or reach out and let's have a conversation and see how we can help you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.